So that's where the name comes from. But it's an enduring mystery, this one. So this is a 60-year-old mystery. And recently, it has been thought that it may possibly have been solved. But basically, it was a group of experienced hikers working for the government who inexplicably left their camp, and their bodies were found, and it was unclear. Well, I'm going to tell you the whole story, obviously, as we go along. These are the people that disappeared. Hang on. This bloody computer, it's so slow. Anyway, never mind. Have I put the picture up? So I'll put the picture up. Is it up now? There it is. So these are the people that actually perished on that very mysterious hiking trip. They're all experienced hikers or mountaineers. They were camping out in the Dyatlov Pass, and very mysteriously their camp was found sort of not destroyed. Their tents were ripped from the inside, as if they'd ripped their tents open to get out of them, not somebody or something ripping the tents open to get in, but more them ripping the tents to get out. And their bodies were found in various states of undress, like not fully dressed, etc. Anyway, we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to give you the full story. So have a look. So Russia, so when was this actual article? This was in 2019, this article. So even this article is 6 years old. And even then it was a 60-year-old mystery. Now, this is an actual picture of some of the members of the group of the Dyatlov Pass incident. As I say, very experienced people. You know, this is why it's such a mystery. How did these experienced mountaineers come to the fate that they did? Anyway, so according to this, remember that this is quite an old article. Russian prosecutors have launched a new investigation into the mysterious case of 9 students who died in bizarre circumstances after disappearing on a skiing trip 60 years ago. Countless articles, books, and documentaries have sought to explain the fate of the group, from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, who set off on the trip in 1959 under the direction of Igor Dyatlov, a 5th-year student. So I think that's him. Yeah, so this is Igor Dyatlov. Now, these students, they were only in their early 20s. All of them were very, very young, fit, healthy, as they experienced, which is what makes it more mysterious. So the Dyatlov Pass incident, as it came to be known, has been compared with other unsolved mysteries, including the disappearance of Lord Lucan, the British aristocrat who vanished after his children's nanny was found murdered. Now, of course, that's another enduring mystery. Maybe we should look at that sometime. But don't forget, if you've got a mystery you want me to talk about, please let me know. But yeah, Lord Lucan, that's, he's got to be dead now, hasn't he, this guy? He disappeared, didn't he, after his children's nanny was found murdered. But, you know, he had money. He probably went to South America or somewhere like that. And he could well be dead now, couldn't he? I would imagine he is dead now. But will we know? Is it a mystery that will never get solved? Even though he's probably dead now, you'd think somebody would talk now, wouldn't you? But so far, nobody has. And the other enduring mystery, of course, was the abandoned ship, the Marie Celeste. So this mystery of the Dyatlov Pass, this is on the similar sort of mysterious thing as Lord Lucan and the Marie Celeste. So, I didn't realise. I'd forgotten that Lord Lucan was declared dead after 4 decades. Now, I'm sure he is dead now, but I bet he had a life, unless he went and took his own life somehow. But these sort of things, something normally leaks out, doesn't it? I'm thinking particularly about Lord Lucan here. Something normally leaks out. It's unusual after all this time that nobody, although he had means and he must have been protected by somebody, mustn't he? Somebody must know what happened to Lord Lucan. Anyway, but nobody so far has managed to uncover solid proof of why the group of experienced hikers fled their tents in a remote camping spot while they were partially closed and without footwear. So whatever happened, it seems that they fled in a hurry. Now, some of the things that are being said now is, was it an avalanche that made them, were they in their tents, were getting ready to go to bed, and that's why they weren't fully clothed, and then they heard an avalanche? Is that a possibility? And then did they have to cut themselves out of the tents? Because that's one of the big mysteries about it, is why the tents were ripped open from the inside. Very strange. Anyway, so they fled their tents in a remote camping spot while they were only partially clothed and without footwear, and their bodies were discovered over the following weeks in the snow, with several having suffered serious head wounds. So this is the other mystery about it. Several of them had these terrible head wounds where, like people are saying now, maybe it was a slab avalanche, which I suppose head wounds could be caused by big slabs of ice and that may have melted afterwards, possibly, I don't know. Anyway, so it was seven men and 2 women, and they set off on the ski trip on January the 23rd, 1959. Their 16-day itinerary aimed to cover 190 miles and cross the North Ural Mountains, or Toten and Kolat-Sayaki. I mean, I don't know these areas at all. The Urals is a mountain range in what was then Russia. The planet, I think it's still Russia, is it? Let's have a look, actually. North Ural Mountains. Let's have a look where they are. My geography is not brilliant, certainly not Russian geography. So it's in Russia. The Ural Mountains, or simply the Urals, are a mountain range in Eurasia that runs north-south mostly through Russia, from the coast of the Arctic Ocean to the river Ural and northwestern Kazakhstan. As I say, I'm not. Let me just make sure. Yeah, we'll have a look. I think we'll have a look at the map, just to give us a bit of an idea. Oh, come on. Maybe not, because I can't get in it. God. Do nothing's working? Well, nothing works for me. I think, honestly, I definitely must give off some bad energy, because you can't get it to show. What am I showing here? Why is it not showing? Did it come up? I don't know if it came up or not. Oh yeah, it is coming up there, but I can't make it bigger for some reason. So anyway, get an idea at least. Let's go back to the CNN article. Just make sure it's sharing, because you never know. Just won't do what I want it to do. Oh yeah, I think it's back that now. Gosh. Hey Moonbeam. Yeah, I think you're probably right, David. Lord Lucan, he had connections, didn't he? So he was helped probably by the royal family. You know what I mean? It's like, it won't surprise me at all. You know, these kind of people, they never face justice, do they? Aristocrats, royal family. You know, he's like a Prince Andrew, isn't he? Or Andrew, Randy Andy. He'll never face justice. These people don't. Justice is not for these type of people. Everybody else has to face justice, go to prison, etc., but not these kind of people. Okay. So a search operation. Oh, that's right. So they were supposed to make contact by telegram from the final point, which was a village called Vishay, but this never happened. A search operation was launched on February the 20th, and 6 days later, the students' tent, which had been sliced open, so the tents were definitely sliced open, and they say from the inside. So somebody sliced them open. Now, maybe it was them themselves, maybe something happened that panicked them, like an avalanche or something, and they cut the tents open from the inside. Or, you know, people are even talking about Yetis and things like that, but you know, you can't believe that, can you? But they don't have polar bears, do they? They probably have bears. Anyway, the following day, so the search operation was launched on February the 20th. So don't forget, they set off on January the 23rd. Now, they do know when the incident happened because it'll probably tell you later. There was a journal. They were keeping a journal, and so they know when the last entry was made in the journal, and it's presumably, that was the last day that they were okay, because after the last entry, there were no other entries made. So the following day, so that'll be on the 21st of February, the bodies of Yuri Dorochenko and Yuri Krivonishenko were found just over a mile away, lying by a campfire. They were both stripped to their underwear. So they'd made a campfire, by the sound of it then, if they were lying by a campfire, but they were stripped to their underwear. And as I think you said earlier, Bluebell, that can happen, can't it, with hypothermia, apparently. Apparently when people get hypothermia, it can start them thinking that they're hot and take their clothes off and make things worse, can't it? So here is a photo of the tents abandoned and cut open. Strange, isn't it? Why would they cut their own tent open and then sort of go off with it? Seems like they left there with no clothes, though. I mean, I think this is the thing. Apparently, all their belongings, etc., were folded up and put neatly outside the tent. You know, as if they were just going to bed on a normal evening. I suppose. I don't know if that would be something. You know, their boots and their personal items. You know, it's a real mystery. Or did something panic them? Did they hear an avalanche starting and panic? And, you know, maybe the snow had built up at the entrance to the tent, so they had to slit the tents open to get out. Will we ever know? Anyway, in the days that followed, 3 more of the skiers were dug up, including Dyatlov, while the remaining 4 were only found in May once the snow had melted. A criminal case was opened at the end of February, but it was closed 3 months later, having concluded that the spontaneous power of nature was to blame. The Soviet-era investigation remained classified until the 1970s, the AFP news agency reported. For many, this explanation was far from satisfactory, as it failed to explain why the adventurers had rushed out into the freezing cold, wearing only underwear and without shoes, and neither did it address why several of the group had suffered broken bones and skulls. So, of course, what we have to remember is this was the Soviet era, and in the Soviet era, anything bad was always brushed under the carpet, wasn't it? They wouldn't. Everything was cloaked in secrecy. Most governments cloak things in secrecy, don't they? But the Russian government, then the Soviet government, especially, there was lots of things that probably went on behind the Iron Curtain that the world didn't get to know about. So I think, the key things here are, why did they rush out into the freezing cold wearing only underwear and without shoes? They're experienced skiers. They knew that they wouldn't have done that. There have to be a good reason that they would do that, isn't it? Why they wouldn't get there. And for all of them, like you can see that maybe one person might have a psychotic break or something, or go a bit crazy with the snow, but for all of them to take on the same collective madness. Anyway, apparently some 75 theories have been put forward according to the prosecutor's office, including an alien abduction. Another suggests they were killed by members of the Mansi people, for whom the mountains were spiritually symbolic. Still others claim the scene was staged in order to cover up details of a secret weapons testing program. However, the new inquiries will only investigate 3 theories considered the most likely ones, and all of them are somehow connected with natural phenomena, said Alexander Korenoy, the official representative of Russia's Prosecutor General. He says crime is out of the question. Now, is it though? I mean, is crime out of the question, or is it they just don't want to admit that it might have been a crime? Yeah, David, I wondered about a bear attack as well, but I don't know. Hey, Moonbeam. You got a phone call during my live earlier and missed the end of the stream. Oh, well, you can always go back and watch it. It's there. Yeah, it could have been a bear attack or a Yeti, because there's a Russian Yeti, apparently. Yeah, well, that's the whole reason why I'm doing it on this unexplained mystery. It is an unexplained mystery, and I don't know that the true reason will ever be found now after 60 years, will it? But it's intriguing, isn't it? For all of them, you could see that one person could get attacked by a bear, or could a bear attack all those people? It'd have to be a group of bears, wouldn't it? There were 12 of them. So anyway, this guy, Alexander Korenoy, who's the official representative of Russia's Prosecutor General, he said that crime is out of the question. He said there is not a single proof, even an indirect one, to favour this criminal version. It was either an avalanche, a snow slab, or a hurricane. Could have been a hurricane, I suppose. I mean, the thing is, they were out in the wilds. I'm just thinking about how it was here yesterday. The wind just got up like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'd had no wind in the morning at all. At 2 o'clock, these 100 mile an hour, 100 kilometer an hour gusts of wind started, and it came out of nowhere. And that's in a, you know, in a habit, not right out in the wilds in the snowy mountains. I should imagine weather incidents can literally appear out of nowhere. So it could have been a hurricane, or it could have been a whirlwind, or it could have been a UFO. It's like you just think that there's lots of things, isn't there? It could have been. Anyway, they're insistent that it's not foul play. Relatives, the media, and the public still ask prosecutors to determine the truth, and they don't hide their suspicions that something was hidden from them, he said in a video posted on an official website. Appearing at a press conference, a spokesman for the prosecutor's office for the Sverdlovsk, sorry, I hope I'm probably butchering all these Russian names, sorry about that, revealed a 400-page volume of original case materials. All right, there's the file. This is the investigation file seen during the press conference. So, Andrei Kurakov told the news, of course, these days they'd have their cameras, wouldn't they, and their phones, and, probably whatever had happened would all be recorded on video. But of course, we're going back before the days of video phones and things. So he told the press conference that investigators were relying on the help of friends and family of the deceased. Well, how could friends and family of the deceased help? As well as modern technology, which was not available at the time. Oh, there he is. So this is the Andrei and the journalist during the press conference on the reopening of the investigation into the Dyatlov Pass incident. Now, if you key into Google this Dyatlov Pass incident, there's been, since YouTube came into existence, you can imagine, can't you, how many content creators have covered this incident. Hi, Lily. Did I say hello to Lily? Hi, Lily. Sorry if I forgot to say hello to you or I didn't see you. Oh, no, you've only just come in. So, hi, Lily. You can imagine that you'll find hundreds of videos out there about this incident if after this video you want to look into it anymore. Though I don't think there's any, the thing is, there's only a limited amount of information. You can try and sort of string it out a bit, but at the end of the day, the information we have is from 60 years ago. So also at the press conference was Peter Bartolome, a friend of Dyatlov. He said a year prior to the incident, we went to the subpolar Urals in an expedition where the conditions were much more difficult than his last venture. I have always characterized him as a wonderfully knowledgeable person, an athlete, always well prepared. One could always rely on him. And I can say for the same for the rest of the guys. Although we did not get on as we did not go on as many expeditions as with Igor, I am glad that years after a high-level investigation is resumed to understand what exactly happened. Next month, I'm going to look at the end of this when I finish this reading out this article. I'm going to look to see what if any, the discoveries were. Next month, prosecutors will fly to the site, and a range of experts and rescue workers will be involved in the investigation. Experts will conduct 9 different examinations, including a forensic probe, which will help to fill in a number of blank spots. So, gosh. Now, to me, Just looking at that, I don't understand why people like doing these kind of things. I can't imagine anything worse than going in a tent on the side of a snowy mountain and in the middle of nowhere. But especially in those days when you didn't have the technology that you've got now. But I suppose these kind of people, they're innovators, aren't they? Is because of people that do things like that. I suppose that we've discovered so much about our planet that we have. Um, but it just seems like something you wouldn't really want to do, is it? Now, another thing that occurred to me, because again, anything's possible, and they're saying there's no criminal activity, but is it possible that one of the just one of them went absolutely crazy with a knife, just literally lost it. I mean, I do think that those kind of things are possible, aren't they? If somebody who had some mental health issues, if one of the party had some mental health issues, now, it's just a possibility, isn't it, that one of them just completely lost the plot and went mad with a knife? Well, not a knife as in slitting open the tent. They weren't killed with knives, but they had these traumatic head injuries. So maybe someone went mad with a weapon and then they themselves fell victim to hypothermia in the end. But maybe they'd already killed the other people or some of them. Strange, isn't it? So I'm just going to have a look now to see if I can find the latest. Now, what it's saying on the AI overview is it was likely caused by a rare small slab avalanche and subsequent hypothermia, according to a 2020-2021 Russian investigation and scientific studies. So that'll be a result of that investigation that we were talking about. So simulations suggest a delayed small snowslide struck their tent, causing severe chest and head injuries and forcing them to flee, poorly clothed, in panic. That's what they've decided, or that's their conclusion. So their key scientific findings were the cause. Let me share this tab so you can see. So the key scientific findings were the cause was a small specific slab avalanche triggered by cutting the slope for their tent, which then hit the tent hours later. So what they're saying is, as they, thank you, Lily. I'm glad I said hello to you in the beginning. Once I get on, good talking, I forget who I've said hello to, but and then I don't like to think I haven't said hello to someone. So what they're saying there, then, isn't it, that when they camped, they set off an avalanche, a small avalanche that wouldn't have hit their tents until later because it would have been slow coming down. I mean, you sort of can imagine that they could have been in the tent, ready to sleep. That's why they weren't clothed. But would you? I mean, to me, I don't know. I don't know because I'm not a skier, I'm not a camper, I'm not any of those things. But would you even take your clothes off if you were camping up on a snowy mountain to go to sleep? I just the thought of them taking I know they're going to get into a sleeping bag maybe, but wouldn't it still be freezing? Surely you'd at least have your fleecy jammers on or something. God, I have to wear my fleecy jammers here in Spain when the temperature is bloody 9 degrees or whatever. The thought of not, of just wearing your underwear to go to sleep on a snowy mountain doesn't make sense to me. to be honest. So, and that's where they're saying they got these head injuries from. I don't know. I mean, as you say, David, anything's possible, but it just sounds weird to me. Anyway, the injuries found on the bodies, crushed ribs, fractured skulls, were consistent with being trapped under a slow-moving, heavy block of snow. Oh my God, if that's true, what a horrible way to go, isn't it? The deaths, survivors fled to the tree line in panic and died of hypothermia, and the injuries caused those that were in the ravine to die faster. The missing parts, scavenging animals, were responsible for post-mortem injuries such as missing tongues and eyes. Ooh. Now, I don't know what animals there are there up on the mountain, or there probably are, there will be wildlife, of course. Missing tongues and eyes. Now, without getting too graphic, I do know that when, birds will go for eyes, won't they? Definitely, it's a horrible thought, but I think they're the first things that birds go for on bodies. I don't know what birds would be there in the mountain. Are there like some, birds of prey that would, or like, obviously they're not vultures because it's the wrong country, but like the equivalent of them. Missing tongues and eyes. God, missing tongues. Anyway, while this is the most accepted scientific explanation, some doubts persist due to the lack of initial investigation evidence. Now, the problem is that 60 years later, you can more or less, sort of make, you have no, like it's saying, you haven't got the initial investigation evidence to work with that you would have now. If this happened now, well, it wouldn't happen now, perhaps, would it? Or it wouldn't be such a mystery because there'd be these sort of mountaineers, they take so much equipment with them and everything, that there would be some record. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, obviously, but it just doesn't feel right to me. But anyway. So, diving a bit deeper into the AI explanation, while there is no single smoking gun that satisfies everyone, scientific consensus and Russian authorities now consider the Dyatlov Pass incident solved as a tragic natural accident. And this is the official conclusion. That the group died due to a combination of an avalanche and extremely low visibility. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because when, we weren't there, and even the experts weren't there at the moment that it happened, so you can't see what the conditions were. By the time people went there, the conditions will have been different. So anyway, so this is what's thought. The event was a snow slab slid onto the tent while the hikers slept, and then they panicked and feared a larger slide, cut their way out of the tent and fled into the darkness. 6 died of hypothermia, while 3 died from severe internal injuries caused by the initial impact of the snow slab or a secondary fall. Now you can see that, I suppose, if they were all in the tent or in the tents, and the snow slabs first of all injured the ones that were injured, the others would panic and run out, I suppose, cut themselves out and run out. So apparently there was a scientific breakthrough in 2021. Researchers published a study that provided the first mathematical proof for a slab avalanche at the site. And it said it was missed because the slope was relatively gentle. No typical avalanche debris was found weeks later. The frozen connection. To simulate how snow behaves, the researchers reportedly used code similar to that used for the snow physics in Disney's Frozen. Right? And the hikers had cut into the snow to level the ground for their tent, which inadvertently weakened the slope and triggered the slide. Now, the unsolved anomalies, these are the most important things, aren't they? The missing organs, the missing tongue and eyes of only one of them, of Lyudmila Dubinia, are attributed to scavenging animals and natural decay in a stream where she was found months later. So she was found in the stream. So why was it only her tongue and eyes that were missing? Radiation. Small amounts of radiation on the clothing were likely from the hikers' previous work in nuclear facilities, not the site itself. And the car crash injuries. High-speed computer modelling showed that a dense slab of snow hitting sleeping hikers could exert enough force to cause the observed skull and rib fractures without external bruising. I don't know. Don't know about you, but it feels to me that they're just trying to make it fit. Are they? Because they don't really know what happened. Do you think that sounds more like something being made to fit than something that really happened? I don't know. Well, exactly. I don't know. Well, that's exactly it. I don't know. I don't know if anybody really knows. They've come up with a logical explanation, of course. But is it the real explanation? Well, we'll never know, will we? Or maybe one day. But do you think when we when we shuffle off this mortal coil, we get to know all the unexplained mysteries? Like what happened to Madeleine McCann? What really happened to Nicola Bulley? What's John Benet Ramsey? Do we get to know all these? I hope we do. I hope we do one day. We get to know what really happened in these mysterious cases. I mean, at the end of the day, mysterious things do happen, and sometimes they do turn out to not be that mysterious.